everyone, welcome to the Tech Speaks of NPK Consultancy. My name is Patricia Komani, and behind the scenes I've got Nomti, who will be asking us some questions on the topic for the day, which is annual financial statements. Now, before I even start, I'm sure you feel like, why do we need to have annual financial statements? It's a scam. It is a scam that accountants and auditors have decided to scam everybody else. We don't need to have financial statements, right? But did you know that financial statements are actually a requirement by the Companies Act, right? So the Companies Act says, because you are a juristic person in South Africa, we are expecting you to abide to our rules on how you need to operate within the premises of South Africa. And one of those things is having annual financial statements. So the annual financial statements are those statements then that you will use to submit to CIPC, and you use them to submit also to SARS when SARS want supporting documents. So sorry guys, it is not a scam by accountants or auditors. It is a regulation that has been put in place by our beloved government in South Africa. So yes, Nomti, hit me up with those questions.
All right. Getting straight into it, right? First question, why do I need financial statements?
The business would need financial statements simply because of what I've just mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah.
Which is, it's part of the regulations. But also, financial statements are those documents or the report that enables you as executives of the company to see what has been happening in your business and be able to make the necessary decisions. Okay?
Yeah.
And it also allows you to request funding.
Yeah.
Because when you do request funding, shameless plug, we do have a video on being funder ready, check it out. But when you do request for funding, they will ask you for financial statements as a supporting document.
Right.
So now when you've got financial statements, it allows you to actually do the application for funding. It allows you to also get applications for grants, as well as you being able to have that conversation with your investors, because the investors would also want to know what is happening in your business, and financial statements are those documents that tell that story.
Right.
They give the story of what is happening in your business when you are not in the room.
Right. Wow. Okay. So now that I know that I need financial statements, right? And as a business, I actually get to do them. How do I read these financial statements? Number one, how do I read an income statement?
Before we even get to reading financial statements, we need to understand, right, that financial statements is actually a report. Annual financial statements. It's a report that gives us information, financial information of the business for that financial year, right?
Yeah.
And it consists of different statements. One, as you've mentioned, is the income statement.
Right.
What we actually call comprehensive income statement, right?
Yeah.
You might also know it as the profit and loss, right?
Right.
The second one is what we call statement of financial position, which you might also know as the balance sheet.
Yeah.
You've got the statement of cash flow. You've got the statement of equity. You've got notes that give us information, more detailed information of those summaries or totals that we see in the financial statements, right?
Right.
And you also have what we call accounting policies, and that literally tell us how are we supposed to process, recognize these specific transactions. Back to your question.
Yeah.
How do I read income statement?
Yes.
So income statements, as I mentioned, also known as the profit and loss, literally tell us whether the company has made profit or loss.
Yeah.
Right? For that financial year.
Right.
So income statements would consist of your income, right?
Yeah.
The income is broken down into your what we call the turnover, the actual income for the specific trade that you are doing,
Yeah.
right? And any other income that the business has generated.
Right.
So any other income would be interest, for example. Any
Yeah.
other income would be maybe you work with somebody else and as a result you received commission, right?
Right.
Or maybe you received referral fee from
Right.
another organization. All of those income then they are reflected in the income statement,
Yeah.
right? And then you've got what you call cost of sales. Then the cost of sales will tell us what are the specific expenses that are directly linked to your trade.
Yeah.
Okay. So for example, let's say that you are a retail company and you sell chicken.
Yeah.
Right? So you sell chicken. Cost of sales will be how much did you actually spend in buying those chickens. Right? How much cost did you incur in bringing those chickens from point A to point B before you sell them to your client? That will be your cost of sales, right? And then you've got something that we call operating expenditure. Operating expenditure will be just general day-to-day expenditures that the business incurs in order to ensure that the business is functioning.
Yeah.
That might be accounting fees, that might be bank charges, because you need your bank account to function, right, in order for you to do those transactions, right? That might be salary and wages, that might be travel, and so forth and so forth. So all of those transactions then reflect in your income statement. So when you look at your income statement, you're asking yourself, 1, how much sales did I make in the year? 2, what are my other income that I generated in that year? 3, what are the expenses that directly link to my normal trade, which we call cost of sales? 4, what are my operational expenses that did I incur within that financial period? And with all of that, when you say your income minus your cost of sales minus your operating expenditure, did I make a profit or did I make a loss?
Right.
And whether you've made a profit or loss, then it will also determine on whether you actually pay taxes to SARS. So that is all the information that you'll get when you are reading income statement.
Right. Statement number 2. How do I read the balance sheet, also known as the statement of financial position?
Okay, cool. So the statement of financial position, right, also known as the balance sheet, tells us the current position, hence statement of financial position.
Right.
It tells us the current position of your finances of the business as at that particular day, which is the last day of your financial year.
Right.
So let's say that your financial year is February. So as at the 28th of February 2025.
Yeah.
Right? What is your current financial position of the business? Now, in the statement of financial position, you will have what we call the assets.
Yeah.
You will have what we call equity. You will have what we call liability.
Right.
The assets will consist of the assets of the business, so such as the bank statement, the bank accounts, such as any investments that you have.
Yeah.
If your clients, your customers owes you money, right? If you are a VAT vendor and you need to get a refund from SARS, you will have all of that, right?
Right.
And then you will have the equity position. So now the equity position, it tells us the value of the business, right? How much are your shares worth, right?
Yeah.
It also tells us remember the profit that we talked about?
Yeah.
It comes through on to tell us how much profit or how much loss did you make in that year, right? And then you've got the liability portion, which tells us how much do you owe, in short. Who do you owe, right? Do you owe the bank? Do you owe other funders? Do you owe a bond, right, for a property? Do you owe SARS? Do you owe the shareholder? Who do you owe and how much do you owe? So yes, in summary, I would say the balance sheet or the statement of financial position will tell the financial position of the business on where do you stand in terms of your assets, where do you stand in terms of the equity of the business, where do you stand in terms of the liability. Are your assets more than your liability or are your liability more than your assets, right? If your liability are more than your assets, then what does that say about your business? If your assets are more, which assets are actually liquid? Liquid meaning you can easily get cash from them, right? Which assets are not liquid? So you might have 6 million rand, but it's in a property. You cannot just sell a property tomorrow and get cash flow, right? So those are the things that you will find in terms of your balance sheet.
Right. Statement number 3. How do I read the statement of cash flows?
Statement of cash flow literally talks about that cash flow.
Yeah.
So the statement of cash flow is saying, or it is reporting the cash that you've spent and received in that year.
Right.
Right. What amount of money came in, what amount of money went out,
Right.
and to whom or to what particular transactions, right? So for example, if you received total sales of 10,000 rand,
Yeah.
but from that 10,000 rand, the actual cash was 7,000 rand. Cash flow will show me that 7,000 rand of my total sales was received, right? It will show me that I paid 9,000 rand to Patricia, who happens to be the shareholder of the company.
Right.
It will tell me 50,000 rand dividends was paid to Patricia. It will tell me the company paid a total expenditure of 10,000 rand. It will tell me the company paid taxes to SARS or not yet, right? So it's literally the cash movements of the business. What amount went in the business in terms of cash?
Yeah.
What amount went out of the business in terms of cash?
Wow, interesting. And then the last statement is the equity statement. How do I, as a business owner, read an equity statement?
An equity statement is the most summarized statement, but it is loaded.
Yeah.
So when I say it is loaded, what do I mean? It reflects the value of your business, right? It consists of different elements. The element one would be shares.
Right.
What is the value of your shares? What is the total value of your shares? If there's actually the amount that you purchase the shares for. I do understand that there's some companies that when they bought the shares at no par value, there was no cash that actually went into that, right?
Yeah.
But there are other companies that they actually do have cash injection that went into those buying those shares.
Right.
So your statement of equity would show that, okay?
Okay.
It would show if you've got some sense of revaluation of the business, some reserves, it will include that. Okay?
Right.
It will also once again show the profit that the company has been, or the loss that the company has been accumulating
Right.
for the current financial year and the previous financial periods of the past, right?
Right.
It will also show the dividends. Have you been actually giving dividends to your shareholders or not? So in essence, with all of that, how much is your company actually worth?
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. I believe that is all from me, and I believe we've covered all the financial statements.
All
Over
right.
to you.
All right, perfect. Well, like I said, financial statements, they're very crucial for your business, right? They
Yeah.
tell a story. They are able to defend your business when you're not in the room, right? Ensure that your financial statements are properly done, because think about it. If you need funding and they are asking for your financial statements, you are not in that room to defend yourself.
Right.
You are not in the room to explain why there is, 100 million rand on salaries, but your total sales is 50 million rand.
Right.
Therefore, you need to ensure that those financial statements are properly done, and you need to make sure that your processing is done correctly, because when you are unable to defend yourself, the financial statements defend you
Right.
or expose you.
True.
Depending on where you stand.
Right.
So always remember that financial statements tell a story of your business, and they speak on your behalf in rooms that you are not in.
Wow.
Yes, until next time, please do ensure that you comment if you've got any questions. Tell us your experiences. Do you have financial statements or not? Why don't you have financial statements? If you do have financial statements, how have you been reading your financial statements? Do you actually understand what they are saying, and what impact have they had in your decision making within your business? It's been great. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.